So just kind of want to do a quick little demo on your SaberForge Heretic hilts. This is installed with CFX with a custom removable chassis. So over here we have our two buttons. We have our main switch over here, which is the red AV switch, and the auxiliary over here, which is the kind of nickel-plated switch. Down here we have a genuine leather wrap from Defcon Bird. This one is the Oxblood leather wrap. Here we have kind of a faux acrylic gem. That one's just kind of glued in, so you can kind of use some isopropyl alcohol to loosen the glue if you want, and then remove that. And then you can glue in a gem in there if you want. In there we have our illuminated NeoPixel connector, which you can't see right now. And then inside the hilt we have our chassis. So to access that, just unscrew the pommel. And the chassis should just come right out, so make sure you kind of cup over the pommel, or where the pommel would have been, to make sure the chassis doesn't fall on the floor. So there's your CFX in a glitter black chassis. So you have your CFX board there, you have your USB access as well as SD card over there. So for this one you're going to want a kind of up-angled USB adapter. And then for the SD card I will kind of just use some kind of really wide pliers. And then over here we have onboard tactile switches. That way you kind of cycle through some of the options on the CFX without needing the chassis inside the hilts. And I actually find that to be a little useful because there are some operations when you're plugged into a computer, for example, where you need to like reset the board, which you need access to the switches. So that was kind of a pleasant surprise. Up here we have our chassis connector there, and our 28mm bass speaker over there. Back here we have a kill switch, as well as the battery holder. So I'm not sure if you can see because it's a black chassis, but it should also be marked there, positive polarity for the battery, and negative over there, along with the spring side for the negative of the battery. And then to insert the battery, I'll be sending you a Keep Power 18650 battery, but here I just have one of my personal ones just to test with. So just insert it in negative first. You want to compress the spring, slide into the positive end, and then just snap it in. And then to turn on the saber or the chassis, just flip the kill switch over to the right. So right now it's on a grayscale font. I've uploaded all, I believe, 19 of the free grayscale fonts on here. Some of them already have blade profiles and kind of color profiles mapped to it already, but most of them don't. So you're still gonna have to kind of learn how to assign color profiles as well as blade profiles on CFX. So to insert the chassis, just insert it with the chassis connector in first. Because it is a radial chassis setup, you don't actually need to worry about which kind of orientation it's in, as long as the PCB side goes in first. So just insert that, and it should slide in. And then to lock the chassis in place, just screw the pommel in. So this one has a pretty long pre-order. It's kind of loud with the 20mm speaker and 100% volume. So let's put a blade in here. I'll also be sending a 32-inch TXQ blade, but right now we'll kind of be using a dagger blade to test around with. So make sure you loosen this retention screw here. It's an 832 screw, so I use 5/64 inch Allen wrench. So inserting that and then tightening it in. Smooth swing over there. Really loud moaning. You can also cycle through the fonts by going into kind of spectrum mode. So just hold
sound bank selection.
The sound bank selection. So you would just hold down the auxiliary until you hear the sound bank selection. And then to cycle through, you can just tap the aux button. So these are all grayscale fonts.
Audio play. SD system exit mode. Crystal focus.
So there's now cycling through the default CFX
Crystal
fonts.
Youngling.
Let's go back to that grayscale font.
This is General Canal Ancient.
Crispity.
And then to lock it in, just hold down the main button. Or the auxiliary button. And then to remove the blade, just loosen the blade retention screw. Slide the blade out. And then to remove the chassis, again, just unscrew the pommel. And then now you can remove the battery. So when removing the battery, I like to flip the kill switch off. And then kind of digging my fingernail into the positive end. And then just pull it out like that. So for the onboard tactile switches, currently it's mapped so that this is the main switch, and this is the auxiliary. So I'm going to insert it back into the Saber. And there you go. There's your SaberForge Heretic installed with a Crystal Focus 10, or CFX, with the custom removable chassis. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I would also suggest looking to the crystalfocus.net website. That website has a ton of resources on how to configure your CFX. It's got the manual, pretty much everything you need to kind of get started. So thank you so much for letting me work on this, and may the force be with you.